Hi everyone, good day. Today I'll be presenting on a topic that is gaining significant relevance in contemporary Malaysia, the trend of childless marriage among couples. This presentation draws upon our qualitative research, including interviews and sociological theories, to provide a very deeper understanding on this topic. I am Tanisha and I'll be presenting on behalf of my team who are Mr. Azrizal, Miss Linzman Zhang, Miss Li Wei, and also Miss Norafika. And we are group 2 in our class, and this assignment is a part of our course, which is Seminar on Global Development, Economic and Social Issues. And I'll be introducing on introduction, research objectives, methodology, research findings, and also I will conclude our topic. Now, in the past, when people got married, the first question after getting married would be, um, have you already conceived? And how many kids do you have? Or do you have any good news? But things have totally changed now, especially among the couples that is getting married. Lots of married people are choosing not to have kids. Some of them by circumstances, some of them they are making a decision of not having children. So this trend is growing not just in Malaysia, but as you can see in most or in other countries, most of them, Japan, South Korea, and also United States of America. So as you can see, a mix of things, the cost of living, changing views on gender roles, career goals, and even personal lifestyle. This can actually make a couple to come up with such decisions. So in this study, we want to understand why are more Malaysian couples choosing to remain childless. As you can see, that has been quoted by Carol and also Octaviana and other authors. Many couples today intentionally choose not to have children despite of social pressure. Our main goal of this study is to explore the impacts of the childless marriage trend among Malaysian couples. We have looked on the three angles, which are social, economic, and also culture. And why do you think this topic matters? Because Malaysia's birth rate is falling very fast. As you can see, every day whenever we buy a newspaper to read or when we read news in social, there will be a page dedicated only on this topic. You know why couples are not having kids, or the birth rate in Malaysia has declined. So this research helps us to understand both the individual choices and the wider social consequences of this growing trend. Alright, so first we have chose a qualitative research approach because we really wanted to understand how married couples in Malaysia experience and think about childless marriage, whether it's by choice or due to other circumstances. We conducted in very depth, semi-structured interviews. This means we followed a flexible set of guiding questions but also allowed the participants to share their own experiences despite of the questions. And for our sample, we used purposive sampling. That means we intentionally selected people who fit the criteria of our study. Couples who have legally married, living in urban areas of Malaysia, and they have no kids at all, as I said, based on the decision they have made or circumstances. All of them are working full time, and we have five couples aged between 24 to 38, and their marriage range from 3 to 15 years of marriage. So we interviewed a 24 years old Malay man who is a production leader, 30 years old female, Malay female, detailer, a 46 years old Malay female, content creator, a 38 years old female, lawyer who is also a Malay, and also a Malay lady of 28 years old who is working in service occupational sector. So five informants together. And from our topic, it can be separated in three angles, as I mentioned just now: social, economic, and also the government. and I will explain in detail after this. To begin with our male informant, he actually shared with us saying that society pressures us to marry and have children while simultaneously demanding economic stability. That line stuck with us because it shows how couples today are caught in the middle of everything. They are expected to start a family, but the economic reality makes that very, very. So, from a sociological point of view, we can link this to conflict theory that has been discussed and proposed by Karl Marx. The theory suggests that unequal access to resources like housing, stable income, and also childcare limits a people's freedom to make their own family choices. So, even if they want to have kids, the system in Malaysia actually makes it very difficult for them. And this is the societal transformation and demographic shifts. And moving on to the next, which is a shifting gender roles and also cultural meanings. Women are increasingly questioning traditional roles and asserting their choices, reshaping societal perceptions of women's worth through symbolic interrecognition. And one of our informant actually shared with us saying that I reject the notion that a woman's purpose is solely to become a mother, which is related. Religion is also being interrupted as individuals. So, this shift leads to two major social impacts: changing population, a fewer children, and an aging population. Another one would be changing mindsets, prioritizing their personal freedom and gender equality over tradition. So, this is what explains the shifting gender roles and also cultural meanings. As you can see, childless marriage is not simply a personal lifestyle, it reflects collective shifts in identity, roles, and also values. So, Malaysia right now is witnessing a sociocultural transition from collectivity's reproduction centered norms to more individualized family values, where women are actually gaining control over their reproductive decision. They can make choices and redefine the social success beyond a motherhood. Key theme two, from the view of economic high living costs and housing constraint. So now let me walk you through the economic side of this issue. So one of the biggest reasons why many Malaysian couples choose to not have children is actually very simple: money. So living in cities like Kuala Lumpur, everything is expensive. Housing, name it: housing, transportation, babysitters, just name it. For middle income couples, they are stuck in what we call the housing sandwich trap. They don't qualify for government's aid because their income is too high, but they still can't afford private housing either, which is very sad. So one of our informant actually shared with us saying that even with high salaries, rent and car loans burden them. Friends pay just 900 ringgit Malaysia in a month just for babysitting their child. So let that sink in. And another informant of us actually shared with us saying that we agreed before marriage to focus on careers and think about children later. So what they are trying to say is kids can wait. So it's not just a personal delay, but it's a rational economic decision. So when we link this to Marx conflict theory, it is clear. Limited access to housing and support system force people into choices they might not have make it if they had more resources. Okay. So this is our economic factor, economic implication and recommendation. So the findings show that economic barriers are not just personal challenges, but they reflect deeper policy blind spots. Government incentive like Ringgit Malaysia 180 are helpful, but it is insufficient. Current policies overlook the struggles of the middle class people who are too rich to qualify and too poor to effort, just like how I mentioned just now. Let's move to the next part, how lifestyle and financial freedom are changing family values. So, many of the couples we talked to shared with us saying that not having kids actually have gave them more time to spend with their partner, more freedom obviously, and also more space to grow, so both as individual and also as a couple. So that is the shift. As you can see, people are no longer just following tradition, but they are redefining what marriage means for themselves. Of course, this freedom is not evenly available to everyone. That is where policy needs to step in to ensure that couples don't really feel forced into childlessness just because they can't afford to raise a child. So one of the informant actually shared with us this, saying that financial independence freed her from depending on marriage. All right. So yes, the government has introduced some incentives. For an example, there is a 180 ringgit childcare subsidy for civil servants, and the income threshold has been raised to 7,000 ringgit Malaysia. But here is the thing: these policies sound good on paper, but in reality, they are not solving the real problems. Because one of our informant has shared with us, saying that the subsidies help, but they don't resolve deeper reasons for childlessness. And another participant has actually shared with us, saying the government urged childbirth, but ignore the real life burden, the real life mortgages, and also the expenses. So the voices actually reflect something very important. The policies mainly help low income families, while the middle class, the largest group in urban Malaysia, left out, as you can see. So now let's look at the bigger issue. The entire system is built around the traditional family model in Malaysia. So in Malaysia, most welfare systems like tax relief, housing, and in retirement assume that you have kids. So if you don't, you are invisible. So, child free couples often face extra challenges like they don't have retirement, support tailored for them, majority in old age, higher risk of loneliness. And one of the informant actually shared with us saying that if you don't have kids, people question you. You will be just labeled. So, Malaysia's policy response to childless marriage need to be updated urgently. As you can see, everyone has shared with us saying that middle class couple are the most affected ones. They are invisible in most of the policies. Childless family exists, but our system refuses to formally recognize or support them. So this is the shift that needed to be focused on. So a sustainable future means supporting all types of family, not just those with children. We have to be fair. So to wrap up this section, here are some ideas for a better, more inclusive approach. So we have to reform our welfare policies to recognize and support child-free couples, not just those with kids. Okay. So second, provide elderly care and housing schemes that don't assume your children will take care of you. And also the next one would be stop using government campaigns to push people into parenthood. Just accept and normalize other choices as well. And finally, promote family diversity in public messaging because there is no one size fits all family anymore. So, if we want a strong, inclusive society, we need to support all kinds of family, but not the chance ones we used to expect, the one with kids. So to wrap things up, what myself, and my team had learned from this research is that childless marriage in Malaysia isn't just a personal trend. It is shaped by a mix of social expectations, economic pressures, and changing personal values. For some couples, it is about freedom and career. For others, it is simply just too expensive. It's about money to raise a child, and sadly, many of them are left out of current policies. Sociological theories had helped us to understand this better, and conflict theory shows us how inequality limits choices. Symbolic interactionism actually explains how people are creating new meanings around marriage and also family. So this study confirms that childless marriage among Malaysian couples is shaped by a complex interplay of personal choice, economic constraint, and also social expectation. And also it has revealed that childless marriage are not simply refusals to conform, but adaptive strategies within modern social and economic strategies. So this trend is not temporary, but it has signals a redefinition of family, marriage, and success in contemporary Malaysia. So at the end of the day, a strong society supports all families, not just the ones that follow tradition with the kids. A better future for Malaysia means respecting every path and giving everyone the freedom they want to live their life fully, whether they choose to have kids or not. Thank you very much.